Notice Jarrett never got paint on his clothes. Is that something that...
But I did wear clothes that I could get paint on, yeah, so be careful.
Is that
I wasn't sure how they were going to come dressed today, so...
Is that a credit course in art school? Painting?
It's just... I don't often spill paint on me, but if I'm wearing like a nice pair of jeans or a nice shirt, that's when I spill paint on me. But when I wear clothes that can get all the paint in the world, I don't get any paint on me. It's very frustrating.
Yeah. Just one more book, please.
Okay.
In the Japanese version, they pulled out like each character and put them out on top. And what's weird is, you know, here's my name in Japanese, but my middle initial is still J. So I just don't know if they don't have middle initials or where that came from, because I have no idea how it is literally translated. But they whenever it says Punk Farm, it says Punk Farm in English, and then there's a little somewhat of a translation on top of that, which I don't know.
Is that because it's... Oh no, that's a period. I was going to say it's like a trademark. Or
no, yeah, their period is just like a circle that's not filled in.
So do you know how well it's doing in Japan?
Oh, I have no idea. I have no idea. I looked for it on like Amazon.jp to see if there was I could figure out how to buy something without knowing the language, but I couldn't find it.
November 15th, 2008. The publishing industry has worked with wood engravings, lithography, drum rollers, and now computers. For the first time in his career, Jarrett Krosoczka is letting his laptop computer take a prominent role in his upcoming Lunch Lady graphic novel series. I'm Mark Blevis. On this edition of Just One More Book, Rockstars of Reading Part 9, Digital Jarrett Krosoczka. I find it really interesting that some of the people who've been in the industry for a long time are moving away from the physical media and actually working more on the computer. Yeah. And you're a newcomer, and you've immersed yourself, like all your artwork is painted, actually. So what leads you to do it that way?
Well, I mean, it's just...
Jarrett Krosoczka.
Mr. Jarrett Krosoczka.
It's what I've always loved to do. I mean, I guess I have 9 picture books now. It's my wife's first crush.
Oh, really?
So we actually are gonna get a second dog someday, and if it's a girl, I get to name it Alyssa Milano or Punky Brewster. They're all painted, and the first book came out in 2001 when I thought, you know, some people were using, oh, thank you, Ralph. Some people were using digital medium, but I don't, the kind of work done on a computer that I'm attracted to is work that doesn't look like it's done on the computer. You know, where it looks like it's very hands-on, or you have to really take a look at it and try to figure out if it was either collaged by hand or on the computer, or whether it was painted by hand or on the computer. The next book, the series that I have coming out, they're graphic novels. And I can tell you a little bit about that when we're done here. I can show you the stuff that I'm doing. But basically what I'm doing, though, is I'm drawing everything by hand and actually outlining it with a brush and ink. And then I scan that into the computer and just lay in that, because it's just going to be black and yellow. So I use that as a tool, but to put in the color and try to. And my goal when I'm working on the computer is to make it look like it was maybe an old printing process. The process is a little bit, well, I shouldn't say a little bit. It's very different, because so what I do is, and first of all, they're 96-page books. So initially, I thought, you know, the process of writing them would be very different. But in the end, I still kind of laid everything out as I would a picture book, except instead of 32 pages, it was 96 pages and a lot more involved. But I'm not painting. And the process of the final art is very different. So what I do is, you know, I have the sketches, and then I take a no photo blue pencil, and I draw out the picture, and then I take a little brush, and with Indie ink, I draw the picture. I, you know, ink it in, and then with a small pen, I'll go in and do some of the detail work, and then I take that picture, this picture here, and then I'll scan it here scan in my scanner, and then it pops up here on my computer screen, and I just drop in the yellow. So the book itself is being produced in yellow and black. So I would just come in and layer, in one layer have yellows, and because I am limited, I also kind of snuck in a third color, which is just a pixelated black halftone. At first I thought the limited palette would be limiting, and that sounds kind of like a weird sentence to say, redundant, but limited in that, you know, I'm not going to have all of these colors at my disposal. But what I found was that the hardest decision was made for me, which was what colors am I going to use. So every page I'd say, oh, well, it's going to be yellow. And sometimes when I'm painting, that's the point where I spend hours trying to figure out what color I'm going to use. What I had to figure out early on was what the rules were going to be for using this yellow. So the idea behind the yellow was that rubber glove yellow was going to be the color. So there are some things that are yellow, like her glove and her apron, some of the kids' articles of clothing. But it was interesting, you know, and while it was limiting, but it was a great challenge for me, because I am used to being able to have all of these colors at my disposal. So now when I go back to my next picture book, because I'm about to finish the second Lunch Lady book, and I'm going to begin work right away on the third Lunch Lady book. When I go back to my picture books, I know something different is going to happen because I've had this different experience. So it'll be interesting to see what that is.
Cool.
Oh, that's
so I draw it with a blue pencil so it doesn't get picked up by the scanner, and I take a brush, and so it's drawn with the brush, with some of the smaller details or thinner lines are done with a pen. But that's scanned into the computer, and I just lay in the yellow and try to make it look like it's off-registered or slightly old. Which, it's funny because some people that have been in the industry forever, who spent years trying to fix those off-registrations, are now like, why are you trying to do that on purpose? You're crazy. We spent so many years. Usually the publisher will put the words in, but I'm putting the words in here myself because I'd find that maybe as I was drawing the word balloons, I was just guesstimating. So sometimes the word balloons might be too small for the amount of words that I need to put in. So I can come in here on the computer and digitally manipulate the balloon to be bigger or to be smaller if the opposite problem is true, in that I've got this gigantic balloon, but there's just one tiny little sentence. And let me find this page for you. So there you go. So that Lunch Lady will be published in July 28th, and they're actually publishing the first 2 books on the same day.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
So how many books are going to be in the series?
It's an infinite number. It's not a...
It's going to be the new, like, Archie Jughead series?
Sure, yeah. It's kind of like inspired by everything from like James Bond to Inspector Gadget to like my old Lunch Lady. For the production, they're doing a matte finish with spot gloss on the Lunch Lady and the title, which I'm very excited about.
Is it uncommon for publishers to publish 2 books in a series on the first day?
I think it's something fairly new that they're doing when they were really getting behind a series. Because when the first 2 books are out at the same time, then the general public can see, oh, it's a series. Like I can hold and read 2 books, and the bookstores know that it's going to be a series, or reviewers know it's going to be a series. And even though they could say, hey, this is going to be a series, but if they're holding 2 books, it just makes it, I guess, that much more real. And perhaps, I mean, it must be something where maybe the bookstores will do more to promote it, knowing that there will be more books coming out. But I know the Spiderwick Chronicles were launched that way. Baby Mouse was launched that way. And I'm sure if I could list a bunch of other series if they came to my mind right now, of recent books that came out within the past 5 or 10 years as series that started that way. There were 2 moments early on in my career when I had this like feeling of like I've made it, you know what I mean? Like this, you've made it wins. And one was I went in for a meeting at Random House, and they had, posters of the different books that they'd published framed all over the different hallways and stuff. And excuse me.
Can you please help me make black?
You want to make black? Sure.
For like the sunglasses.
Okay. Why don't we blow dry that first? And so there was a poster of Goodnight Monkey Boy, and then there's a poster of a Dr. Seuss book right above it, and I was like, I couldn't
That
get
was at
over
Lane's
it.
place?
No, this is at Random House Publishers.
Sorry.
And so I was like, they put my poster right there with his poster. And then another early moment early in my career when I was like, wow, like I can't believe this is happening to me. And at Viking Children's Books, I have a few books with them, and I was in my art director's office, and there was a stack of proof sheets for one of my books. And then like mixed in, like she had this pile of proofs where there were a bunch of proofs for the Happy Hockey Family sequel. I was like, oh my god, like my proofs are touching his proofs. Like I couldn't believe it. I was like, you guys are like that. My art director, like this art director was working on a book with Lane and a book with me at the same time. I couldn't believe it. I'm so geeked out by it.
Does that change your game when you see stuff like that?
Does it change my game?
Does it go, does it just amp up your production?
Yeah, like it was just so exciting, like that, I'm working alongside someone like Lane Smith, like that we have the same art director, like I get so geeked out. I mean, I still get geeked out when I meet people, but I've gotten to meet almost everyone that I've wanted to meet at this point, and I always get to just like, so like I was on a panel with Mark Brown in 2004, and I never met Mark, but when I was like 18, I wrote him a fan letter, and it was fun when I met him. I was like, asked if he had gotten the letter, and he just was so quick. He's like, oh yeah, I have it framed in my studio, like right above my desk. And that's my island of old technology, except for it's also where I hide my wife's Christmas presents. She can't reach. That's all we needed to get us crazy though. Say goodbye, Ralph. Say goodbye. Here, come here. Ralph, calm down. Calm down. Say goodbye.
Oh, no.
Say goodbye.
Where are we parked?
Give a kiss. Give a kiss.
You seem to do a lot of multimedia work of your own, right? You do,
Yeah, I love working in multimedia. The internet's opened up so many different possibilities, I mean, for starters, I think I've mentioned this to you before, but when I was first trying to get published, not every art director would even look at your work on the internet because it was so slow, and it was a great way for me to get my work into the hands of publishers and art directors and the like. But then as technology evolved, I was able to play around more with animation and little things on the web. And that kind of stuff does take up a lot of time though too. That does take me away from the books, but I think it becomes very reciprocal. The books certainly benefit from that.